All right. Hi, everyone. So this is another discussion this week. I'm not doing anything inside of Animate or After Effects or any other stuff that I've been kind of doing here and there. It's a discussion this time with Anastasia McCune. And I've known Anastasia for a long time. We went to grad school together for a year or so.
I think it was 2.
Yeah. Was it the full 2 years? I can't remember if you were like in the same sort of like cohort that I was in, or
Yeah, it was you and me and your sister and a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 2 years.
I should have my sister do this. That's a great idea.
You should.
So, yeah. So I thought that Anastasia might be able to talk a little bit about something that, isn't talked about a lot on Behance. And I don't think it's talked at all on Behance. And it's something that I'm kind of curious about because I've never used Adobe Captivate myself, aside from, just kind of looking into it. I know basically what it's sort of for and what it does, but I'm definitely no expert in it, and I'm not even a beginner in it. I did kind of play around like, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, just to see what the capabilities were, like comparing Captivate to Camtasia Studio or, other things that would be able to record the screen. And I was really looking for a screen recording replacement because I didn't have a copy of Camtasia Studio yet. I can't even remember if that was even a thing back then. It probably was. I was using like this like really crappy freeware Windows screen recorder, right?
Yes, I was using different things then as well. Yeah.
So do you want to give some background in terms of like, what your interests are and where you come from and what led you to like, be interested in Captivate or in that whole area?
Sure. Yeah.
And just explain what Captivate is for myself and other people.
All right. Well, and I'm actually a little surprised that you don't use Captivate more. I thought you might in what you do, but my guess is if you're doing a lot of the media things, so you're probably just in software a lot and demonstrating in software. But Captivate is it's an e-learning development tool, and it's way different than when you looked at it 10 years ago. So you could use it to do screen capture if you wanted, like in terms of, or capture of yourself, like a talking head type of thing, but it's also for screen capture. And you can also develop things like maybe if you want to do soft skills training or that kind of thing. There's a lot of capabilities. You can even do like 360 video and images in it now.
I remember seeing that because, it came to my mind because Animate had the VR 360 and panorama stuff that they added like, I don't know what it was, 2 years ago. Around the same time, Captivate added some VR type stuff too. And I totally forgot about that until you just mentioned it now.
Yeah. And it's a big thing. And there's kind of 2 or 3 major players in terms of e-learning development tools. There's Captivate, there's Storyline 360. And then if there's a third one, I would say it's Lectora. And
I haven't heard of that one.
It's probably not as big a market share, but it's there.
Yeah.
So, so probably those 2 are the biggest ones. And so, it's heavily used. And the big thing that you can do with it, you can do all these things. You can do 360, you can do interactive video, like a video, like you're playing a video and you can pause the video at certain points and maybe give the user more information or ask them a question, like just a regular quiz question. But everything that you get out of that is that you can put it on an LMS, like a learning management system. So I'm not sure what you might be using it.
Does it like package up? Like a lot of people ask about Animate and Scorm.
Yeah.
And I don't really have any idea what Scorm is. So whenever anybody asks about that, I'm always just like, I don't know.
I don't think Animate publishes anything for Scorm.
No.
Yeah, because
it doesn't.
So unless something has changed, but no, Scorm is, so if you have your LMS, your learning management system, whatever you're using at CU, you might be using Canvas.
Yep, we use Canvas.
You use Canvas. So SCORM is basically the technical stuff that the published e-learning course needs to talk on the back end to the LMS. And there's a couple different, So, if you're going to pass in like your learners' names, and you might want to track, like you give them a 10-point quiz, super simple 10-point quiz at the end, and you want to track what their score was. And maybe you want to track not only their score, but what answers did they give. So you could analyze that later and say, boy, everybody missed question number 4. So clearly I need to go back and, talk about that content more, so there's a whole world of learning analytics where you can gather this interaction data as your students are going through your class. So SCORM is what allows your published e-learning package, is basically a zip file.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows your published e-learning package to talk to the LMS. So there's SCORM 2004, then there's another flavor of SCORM, and then there's a newer one that's called XAPI, which is also called Tin Can. So, and which one your learning management system uses just depends on the LMS. They're all different. They all have their own tweaks. They're all,
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's usually just enough to know, do you use which version of SCORM, or do you need XAPI?
So we've got a few people on the chat here, and I'm monitoring the chat. I can see it. If any questions come up, and definitely if anybody has questions, feel free to ask. I'm monitoring, and I will relay those questions to Anastasia. If they come up right now, everybody's just kind of saying hi and friendly stuff like that, which is also welcome.
Cool.
But
yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
So I learned about Captivate because you had asked, how did I learn about that? And I learned it because I was teaching Animate, like as a Adobe certified instructor. And the place I was teaching for said, do you want to teach Captivate? And I was like, okay, what's Captivate? Sure. But I was working as an e-learning developer at the time. And so it made a lot of sense, and just kind of fell into it. And it's not part of the CC family of products, so if you're looking at Photoshop and Illustrator and Animate and all that, like your keyboard shortcuts are the same, and all of that you can implement in Adobe Color and all these different things. Captivate's kind of always been its own separate thing. And I think that's because a long time ago, it used to be called Robo Demo. And
yeah,
I think it was purchased and then they added to it, or, something like that. But so it's a little different than the CC products, but
yeah,
it definitely plays with your LMS nice.
Like there's a couple AELs who are like super into Captivate, and I think they get, similar to like, the situation with, Flash Professional a few years ago, when it was sort of like just left to the side of the road to like fend for itself. I think a lot of people who are advocates of Captivate maybe feel as if it doesn't get the attention it deserves, right?
I don't know.
Well, from like, because it's not like really part of, Creative Cloud or anything like that. And, lots of times when stuff like that comes up, I'll see people, and I'm not going to, of course, name anyone, but, I see people definitely like, say things to that effect, like, oh, yeah, Captivate's like over here, like nobody cares about it kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's kind of this e-learning, because there's also Adobe Presenter.
Yeah.
Which is like a plugin for PowerPoint.
You
can do
I've seen Presenter around, but
yeah,
I wasn't quite sure what that does either. Now, there's like an e-learning suite, right?
Yeah. So Captivate is part of e-learning suite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like Captivate, Presenter, and one or two other things, or?
It might. I actually haven't looked in a while. Adobe. I don't know if Captivate Prime. Adobe has their own learning management system that's called Adobe Captivate Prime. So even though it has
I've
the word,
heard of that. Yep.
Yes, even though it has the word Captivate in it, it really is an LMS. So
yeah.
So
it's kind of like a weird situation. Like Adobe's so big, there's so many different like facets to it. It reminds me of like the whole like situation with Adobe Connect right now as well.
Right.
So, you know, they just came out with like a de-flashed version of Connect 11. But
Yes.
like even Adobe themselves, they use BlueJeans for like everything. I don't know if you've ever used BlueJeans.
I've used BlueJeans before. But
Oh, you must have used BlueJeans with LinkedIn Learning, right?
yeah.
Yeah, because they use it too. I hate BlueJeans. I hate it. I wish LinkedIn Learning and Adobe would get off of BlueJeans, just use something else. Sorry, BlueJeans people.
Know. Well, everything that I've seen for Adobe, I don't know, the stuff from e-learning in that world has been Connect for sure. So maybe Connect is part of the e-learning suite. I actually don't know.
Yeah, I would like to see Connect get a boost again. You know, I know it was kind of lingering for a little bit. They probably weren't really sure how to solve certain problems because, you know, like everybody knows. Well, shouldn't say that. Like most people don't realize. What's the best way to say this? Like the browsers and Adobe and the whole bunch of them sort of like kicked Flash Player to the curb before, you know, there was really a suitable alternative, right?
Right, yeah.
So I think because of that, there's a lot of different things, including like, you know, the CEP system inside of any of the Creative Cloud applications that you can build your own panels and everything.
Right.
So that used to be, you know, all Flash, and they prematurely got rid of that, and it became really, really difficult to write that stuff because you were just like throwing jQuery together, and then you could do some Angular 1 stuff, and it was just kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on here, you know? And with Connect, I mean, you know, just back and forth with like just spinning around, and even Adobe's going to something else, which just blows my mind, you know, since they have this really robust platform in Connect. But anyway, so yeah, I just want to mention,
it's pretty powerful.
So Hannah mentions that she likes BlueJeans.
Okay.
So sorry, Hannah.
They all have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, the thing that I don't like, there's two things I don't like about BlueJeans. Three things. One thing is that it crashes a lot for me. I don't know if it's just me, but I have it like blow out my system sometimes, which is bad. Also, when you're on a call with somebody, like right here in Zoom, we're like side by side, right? So it's really easy to, like, it feels like not sitting at a table together, but close enough, you know?
Close enough, yeah.
With BlueJeans, you get a little thumbnail of people like way down below. So what happens is you can't move those around. So everybody's like looking down.
Right.
You know, it looks like everybody's just like going to sleep or something, you know? So I don't like that about it either. And it does something weird with video, I think, where it kind of washes things out. Anyway, that's the end of my BlueJeans rant.
Okay.
I won't say anything else about it.
There's pros and cons to all of them. I mean, I've watched second grade do Zoom calls and fifth grade do Zoom calls, and that's really cool, but it's also very loud, and the kids are writing on the screen, and they're, you know, all that stuff. So it seems like Connect might give you a little more control over that, but
yeah,
I
mean, Zoom definitely has its weird things too.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, I go and share, because I use Zoom to teach right now because I'm completely remote. So, you know, you share your screen, and all of a sudden, like, this goes away, and you've got like all these floating panels everywhere, and you've got to like move them out of the way, and it doesn't remember where you put them. I wish you could just sort of like create a configuration, like a layout configuration for your panels, and just say, hey, when I share, stick all my panels where I like them and where I put them every single time I share something, you know? So if any Zoom people are listening, that would be great. So Hannah has a question.
Okay.
she asked, can you tell us the pros and cons between Storyline and Captivate? So I guess we should go back to Captivate.
That's a big question.
Hannah's keeping us honest.
It's a big question. Some of the difference might be price point. Storyline is going to run about $1,000 per seat. Captivate you can get on a subscription basis, which for a lot of independent developers, of course, is a little easier. I'd say that Captivate is probably a little more difficult to learn. You have some scripting ability in Captivate. You have ability to do JavaScript in Captivate, either pasting it within this little window within Captivate, or you can use your own external JavaScript files. What happened?
I don't know. I'm hearing some weird little noise. I don't know what it is. That's okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to distract.
No, that's okay. That's all right. But Storyline 360 is kind of another thing for PowerPoint. I think I've heard it described as PowerPoint on crack, really. So, and it does a lot of things. I think it's really just personal preference. You know, I've worked with Captivate so long that Storyline is confusing to me. It's just, I feel like Captivate might be a little harder to learn overall, but there's some places where it shines, especially for software simulation. So like if you're right there.
Yeah, I don't know what this noise is. Actually, can people who are on the call, can you hear that weird noise? It's just like every once in a while. It's kind of freaking me out. And it just started like a minute ago. Wasn't there before. Anyway,
I don't think there's anything from my side. Sorry.
Really weird. Anyway, so we'll see. There's like a 30-second delay here. So they're saying no.
I don't hear it. So.
They're saying they don't hear it. Thanks, everyone. That puts my mind at ease. But yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah, they can't hear it. So it's just something to do with my system or something like that. So awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, do you ever find yourself at a time, like if you're teaching Animate or you're teaching whatever, and there's a particular workflow or something that people forget about, and I'm sure you can just like make a video of it to show how to do it, but you would use Captivate for something like there's 3 different modes that you can record in for software simulation. So it's like kind of demo, assessment, and then like testing. So it's kind of like view it versus do it. So the first one you can watch, okay, if I'm going to do this in Animate, I would click here, and then I would click here, and I would click here. And it'll put in for you like little bubbles, it says click here, and what this does is blah, blah, blah. But then you can give the user the chance to practice, so they can click, 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 and give them feedback along the way. So they can practice without worrying that they're going to break anything. So in that sense, you're going to get a little more interactivity than just watching a video. And for really complex stuff, that's really useful.
So have you done anything with the kind of VR stuff inside of
Captivate?
Yeah.
I have, for myself, I haven't found a lot of clients, excuse me, that want to do it. I think it's out there. I think a lot of people trip on, they don't know where to get the footage.
Yeah.
Like they're afraid of it,
Yeah.
And so like there's some assets that are available in Captivate that are free, and like Adobe Stock has stuff, and you can search, the web and find stuff. But I think a lot of places, like, if you're a hospital and you're doing a training, you may not want generic hospital footage. You might want footage of just your particular facility, and the different processes and the different things that you have there, and the different tweaks about, where you are. And so I think that is kind of a tripping point for a lot of people, is they're afraid of where, you know, like we don't want to invest in getting a camera. Everybody thinks you have to have this really expensive camera to do it. I'm a big advocate of it because I love VR and I think it's really cool. And I've been trying to build a demo. The thing about VR 360 and photos is, like, I have a Google Pixel phone. So just in my camera, I have an option, you know, like most cameras have panorama, but in mine, I have an option for photosphere. And I think that's
I've got that too. Yeah. So I've got a Pixel. I've got a Pixel as well.
Right. Have you ever used it? Have you used a photosphere?
I have, because you know, so one of the classes that I teach is a class on UX and user interfaces.
Okay.
So we go through, I mean, most of the class is around XD and using XD to design screens and experiences like that. But then towards the end, I sort of like let the chains off, sort of thing, because, like, you know, with modern UI, you really are held to a standard, right? Like, people expect certain things in their experience, and, you know, I mean, just look at like Bootstrap and Foundation and like all these different frameworks, whether they're web-based or otherwise, they're all like, they all look the same, right? Basically. Right, so, and people expect that. And there's good things about it and there's bad things about it. But at the end of the class, their last project is to create a virtual reality interactive. And create some sort of a user experience around that. And it's kind of like up to them how they do it. And like you're saying, like, you know, there aren't, you know, I think a lot of people are kind of like weary of that sort of space right now. Because they think it has to have like the goggles and all that, all the accoutrements, right? But yeah, I mean, you can take any of those modes on your phone to create like a panorama or a 360 photo,
360,
and you know, create experiences, whether it's using Animate or Captivate, right?
Right.
So you can probably make like little hotspots and stuff like that, and
it's all built in there. And you click on the hotspot, and you can show an image, or you could ask a question, or you could, you know, do these different things, and it's pretty intuitive. And so I wish that more people knew that, like, if you want to do 360 video, you're probably going to need one of these really expensive cameras that stand on the tripod, and you have, you know, like an app on your phone. So you set it up and you go hide behind the door or something, so you're not in the picture, and it takes the video. But if you're talking about images, you can take it on your phone. I do it all the time. You see them on my Facebook all the time. You know, and and if you don't have a Google Pixel, you know, I just happen to have a Pixel, you just download Google Street View as the app. And then you can do it on iPhone, and you can do it whatever. And when you take your photographs, then you can decide to either share it with Google or not. And then you can use it. So I think, so you can do it for free. You could go into, you know, your students could go and take a 360 of whatever they wanted using the app that's free, and then implement that.
So it's just the Google Street View app, huh?
Google Street View.
That's cool. I didn't know that. Yeah, because I tell them like maybe your phone has, you know, one of these modes on it, maybe it doesn't, so you can capture your own stuff. You know, you mentioned Adobe Stock. So yeah, you can get some stuff from there, or like, you know, other resources like Unsplash have some stuff here and there, right? But I mean, for my class, you know, our college has a vault with a bunch of 360 capable cameras and things like that. So they could, you know, check those out. Well, I mean, I don't know if they can check them out now exactly. But
in theory,
usually they can just go and like check that stuff out. I know they can, but I think the processes have changed in terms of like access and all that, of course.
Sure. Yeah. Makes sense.
So,
but yeah, they don't have to do that. They could go do it on their phone.
Yeah.
And, the quality varies. I take some of them and sometimes it stitches it together. It's not the panorama, it's photosphere. Don't pick the one that says panorama, because that's, you're going from here to here. The photosphere is all that. But yeah, the quality varies. And like, I always find that I always forget when you're taking the pictures at the bottom to like step back with my feet a little bit, because otherwise I have disembodied feet at the bottom of my image.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like
takes a little practice.
Do you ever see like those old photographs from like, I don't know, like the 1890s or that era, where they would take photos of people who had died, and what they would do is they would have to be propped up on something to look living, right? So what they would do is they would sit somebody down in a chair and drape like a big black blanket or cloth over them, and then they'd put the deceased like sitting there, and the person that was covered would like, hold them up in a certain way to make it look like they were actually still alive in some way, and the photographer would take the photo before the internment. Okay. So it reminds me of that. Just jumped to mind.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. So Teresa mentions that maybe there's a business opportunity in creating this kind of content for learning modules.
I think there could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there could be, especially if you're, I'd say you probably want to research it and see what kind of stuff people are looking for. But yeah, I think there could be, especially if you're looking for video stuff. I remember a really good VR experience I did. I didn't do it, I saw it, about what it's like to have, I don't remember what it was, but it's when you're like super sensitive to noises and sounds and stuff like that. And the experience was like in a mall, which is crazy. There's stuff around you all around,
Yeah,
so wherever you're,
I agree.
Yeah. So wherever you're turning around, there's always something coming at you, balloons and clowns and all this stuff. And public places, hospitals, industry stuff, like warehouses, that type of thing. There's a lot of stuff in e-learning that's compliance stuff. There's office stuff. Oh my gosh, I'm always on the hunt for good interior office pictures. It shouldn't be that hard to find. And I swear I go to 6 or 7 different sites so I don't reuse the same pictures of the interior office over and over and over again. Yeah, there could be. And can't you, I feel like at one time Adobe Stock had the ability where you could upload your own photos.
Adobe Stock?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they still do. You can contribute your own photos to it.
And then you can earn if people buy your photos. So
yeah, I think they're pretty strict about specifications and everything, but definitely that's something that, photographers can do. They can upload.
Myra
so you could upload like VR stuff, VR capable photos and videos or whatever, specifically for, to be used in learning content or something. Yeah, sure. So Stock might be a good venue for that.
And there are other ones that I've seen that do that, because my son is really interested in drones right now. So he's taking all kinds of drone footage and places that he can sell his drone footage, so we're kind of poking around with this stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, maybe Adobe Stock.
Maybe so,
Yeah. No, I know some people have uploaded their stuff, and they've, their stuff is sold. They've gotten credit and so forth for their photos. They weren't necessarily like 360 or panoramic VR type stuff, but
yeah. Well, and that's the thing. You never know what people need, just.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about stuff like that. Like just like open repositories of content. It's like, you don't know what people are looking for. So you just throw things up there and see what happens,
You just take your camera with you, and wherever you are, if you can get some good shots, then take it. And you never know,
Yeah.
And if anything, you have some good portfolio shots or something,
Yeah. It's funny. Like I used to like always use like a digital SLR, you know, like a big, heavy.
I remember that.
Yeah. With like,
I remember that. I remember.
and then at Adobe Max one year, they gave everybody like these little like mirrorless cameras. But they're like super cool. It's like the, I don't have it down here with me, but it's like it's very similar to like a Pentax K1000. I used to have a K1000 when I was learning photography, and it was just like such a sick camera because I mean it was all manual, so this is like completely different, but like it was like a silver and black body and just really compact, and it had a really nice lens, and the focus system was awesome, and it just reminded me so much of that. And you know, the past few years I've just been using, because you know, these have gotten so good at photos, and it's so convenient because it all just gets backed up to Google Photos or
Right.
your Dropbox or whatever the heck, right? And you know, it's like I neglected cameras for so long, but I actually dug mine out. Like it might have been like a week ago. It wasn't any very much longer than a week, you know.
Okay.
But yeah, it's been neat, like just like playing with an actual camera again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We pulled ours out recently as well. Just trying different things, and more lighting effects, trying different things with lighting, understanding shutter speed.
So there's a technical question for you from Teresa.
Oh. Okay.
She asks, is there access to Creative Cloud libraries inside of Captivate?
Unfortunately, no.
No.
I wish there was. It's an often asked for feature.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next release, you know.
Yeah.
People have been asking for that for a long time.
Yeah. And almost every other application has that sort of thing, so
Right? I know.
You would think. Like, yeah, you definitely think.
I'm
it's
sure
funny.
they're aware.
So on my class on Monday, I teach my main class is like just a complete overview of the Creative Cloud applications.
Cool.
Right?
So like Photoshop, Illustrator, XD, Animate.
Oh yeah, so we start off with like an overview. You always got to have like here's how the class runs class, right? So we go over the syllabus and the tools we're using and all this stuff. And we go over the Creative Cloud desktop app and how to manage your stuff. So in the second week, we go over Spark Page and Spark Post, kind of ease them into things.
Right.
Plus, a lot of them don't have their licenses yet, so it's something they can still use.
Right.
Then we get into like Lightroom.
Mm-hmm.
So we go into photography and mobile photography. Then we go into Photoshop. And we spend like 2 weeks in Photoshop. And then we go into Illustrator. And part of Illustrator, we use Adobe Capture to capture all sorts of neat stuff to use in Illustrator.
Mm-hmm.
And we just did that on Monday. So that's a fun class. I like using Capture.
I like using Capture too.
Yeah, so after that, and this is where we are right now, we just finished up Illustrator. So we go into InDesign next, then XD, then Dimension, which they always like Dimension. That's fun.
I don't know anything about that.
Then we do Audition and Premiere Pro and After Effects, and we round it all out with Animate.
Do you do Character Animator?
We kind of mention it, but we don't do anything particular with it. It's not really the right. So these are like advertising and media design students. So
yeah,
it's not
so
exactly applicable. I mean, a little bit, maybe. So we touch on it, but there's no like assignment based on Character Animator. Yeah, so we covered, and like we mentioned Dreamweaver. We mention it.
Yeah, so you were saying with all these classes, I interrupted you because I said, "Oh, what's all your CC?" But what were you saying about?
What? I don't know. Maybe we got like off track.
Yeah, I don't know. So I interrupted you asking, "What are all the things?"
I can't remember.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's how things work. So
Yeah.
Teresa mentions that she's learning Captivate right now. And she's
Very
surprised by how unlike it is to other Adobe applications.
Yep. Very true. Very, very true. Panels look different. It does have a timeline. It has a film strip, which is really just like slide view. So it's like a slide by slide analogy. And then each slide has its own timeline. So you can animate, you control when stuff comes in and comes out.
So
but yeah, it's not like Photoshop, Illustrator, any of them at all. The swatches panel, totally different.
So you mentioned like a slide kind of view. So do you to bring this back around to Flash again, because that's where my head lives, you know, is all that junk.
Yeah.
Do you remember? And you were probably using, because you used a bunch of Flash.
I use Flash.
You used
all
to be
the time.
all over Flash.
I built more
We were
banner
both
ads
all over
than,
Flash.
Yep.
Gung
I
ho
built
on
more banner
Flash.
ads than I care to admit.
Hashtag drunk on Flash.
Right. Hold on just a second here. Go ahead, I'm listening. Sorry.
Oh, thank you, Teresa. Yeah, it's a fun class to teach for sure. And you know, it's funny because some students, they come in, you know, having a little Photoshop from high school or a little InDesign from high school or whatever. But there's always like, you know, most people only have touched like, you know, one or two apps in the entire Creative Cloud. So then they leave the class and they know what the apps are. They know how to get started in things. They know how to do the basics, right? They know which app to go to for what, which is kind of the point.
Sorry, I was realizing that I didn't plug my computer in and I was about to run out of battery.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
sorry.
that's worth going for it.
Yeah.
So Teresa mentions, she says that Anastasia's courses on LinkedIn are the best. The advanced course is way over my head right now, but it helped me learn what's possible.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's something we kind of alluded to it a little bit. Maybe at the beginning. I can't remember, maybe. But yeah, Anastasia is a LinkedIn Learning instructor. So she does courses for LinkedIn Learning, and a lot of them are around Captivate, right?
Most of them are.
Yeah.
Most of them are. One of them on there is still Flash Essential Training. Flash Essential Training, not Animate Essential Training. Flash Essential Training.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I mean, I see like in forums and things like the Adobe community forums, like people will pop onto the Animate community and they'll be like, hey, you know, I'm using, you know, Flash MX and I'm trying to do this and that.
What?
I just saw one
Really?
like this week. Yeah. And it's just like, wow, like what?
Wow.
What
MX.
old kind of computer are you using that'll actually run that software?
Wow.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool though. I mean, it's long lived, you know?
It is long lived.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. I remember it now. So Flash. It was about Flash.
Flash. Yes,
so do you remember back in the day when they introduced, I can't remember what it was called, but like they always had like, you know, the regular timeline view that we still have. Do you remember at one point they introduced a like alternate view that was like called a forms view or something like that? And it was kind of like slide based, like you're saying. And they got rid of it like a version or two later, but
yeah,
it was meant more for like, I don't know. It was weird. Like I remember building a couple things in it, but I can't even remember what they were. It was so different.
A bell. It rings a bell.
Yeah. I can't even remember what it was called exactly. And I think, because at the time, Macromedia split Flash into two different versions. There was Flash, and then there was Flash Professional. And Flash Professional was the one that had like components, and it had this weird like slide view or forms view or whatever it was.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was so weird.
Wasn't it about that time? Isn't that when they introduced scenes, or was scenes always there?
Scenes, I think, were just about always. I don't know if
Always
always, but they were there for a while.
So I don't feel like I remember doing scenes. Like when we first learned Flash in grad school, I don't think there were scenes there. Or maybe there were.
I think there were.
Maybe I just didn't know it.
Yeah.
My first Flash
what
project
was that, like
was pretty,
Flash 5?
pretty bad.
I think it was like Flash 5.
I would have to go back and look, because I know I started teaching it in 2005. I don't know. I'm sure we could look it up.
Yeah. That's about the year I started teaching stuff too.
Yeah.
My first class that I ever taught professionally was a fireworks course in 2004 for University College at the University of Denver.
Mine was Flash. And Paul Tranny was the one who was like my mentor.
Paul Tranny needs to get back into Flash.
Yes, he does. Spending a lot of time in Illustrator and different things.
Yep, he's doing cool stuff in Illustrator, but he should bring those illustrations into Flash.
I agree. So Paul, if you're listening.
Yeah. Somebody get the word out. No, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or animate.
So, well, and that's, so that's the kind of thing. I'm going to draw you back to Captivate here. The thing that was so cool is that you could export out from Flash, animate as a SWF, and then you could bring that into Captivate. So if you had like a really complex illustration that you want to, this piece of machinery works this way. So you would want to show the arm on the machinery doing this and stop and talk, like you could do all that, because Captivate has some very basic animations. It's like fly in, fly out stuff, appear, up, down, like there's even something that has an ease in and an ease out. Ooh, easy. But now that layers going away and all that, all the Swift stuff is gone. So if you want to do
gone
anything
from Captivate,
well, I mean, it's there now, but I am confident. Why would they include anything about Swift in the next release of Captivate, whenever that is? Because Flash, Swift won't be there.
So I mean, like the Animate team, right? So they of course get asked these questions all the time about Swift inside of Animate, and they're keeping it in there. So, and they're keeping it inside of After Effects and everything. It's more or less like used as sort of like an asset bundle transport mechanism kind of thing, instead of for playback, exactly, is I think how they're kind of positioning it. So I don't know. I mean,
playback.
It might be a good delivery mechanism for other things too. I'm not sure.
Well, I'm sure it could be, but if it's browser based, because that's your Captivate, your Captivate output is always going to be browser based, whether you're uploading it to an LMS or you're just unpacking stuff to a website. You're always going to be browser based.
Right.
So in fact, I mean, there's even a thing within Captivate where it's called the HTML5 Tracker, and you run it to see if you have any elements in your Captivate project. Because there's a bunch of little things that pre-built games and different things that were awesome, that were all Swift, that you can't use anymore. So, and even some of the newer stuff like the 360 and the interactive video, you have to publish it as HTML5. So
that makes total sense then. If it's all browser based, then
it's all
forget it.
I mean, you can publish to an exe, but I think those days of publishing training to a CD are long gone. So
oh gosh, the last project that I had to work on that was like CD based or DVD based or anything like that it's got to be like 8 years ago or something,
I can't even remember.
Yeah,
I can't even remember.
Because I did do a fair share of stuff like that.
I did too.
Yeah.
I did too.
That was fun stuff, but
yeah.
I don't know.
So
yeah.
Yeah. So right now, if I want to do anything that's like really animaty in Captivate, I'm looking at animated GIFs.
Yeah.
which is fine.
Which is,
that's fine for for a lot of stuff. It's fine.
That's funny though, because like inside of Adobe XD doesn't allow you to import animated GIFs. Well, it lets you import them, but it doesn't like play back.
Really?
Yeah. So like I didn't even realize that, and my students were trying to do it, and they're like, "Hey, how do I get my GIF to play?" And I'm like, "Well, it doesn't just play."
Yeah, right.
They're like, "No." So.
Well, wasn't it you I was talking to that there was some weird animated GIF thing? I think it was you. You had to publish as legacy or something. Something about the way it was publishing out from Photoshop. I don't remember, but
yeah.
So.
Yeah. So let's see how we're doing here. We don't have any other questions right now, and we're doing pretty good on time. We've been chatting for about 46 minutes.
Yeah.
Pretty good. I'm just going to check my notes right here.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if you want to talk about, any of the other stuff that you've been up to recently. Like, I know you've been involved in some webinars and things like that around, Captivate and maybe even just like, this sort of stuff in general. Maybe not even specifically, Captivate, but
yeah. I do a lot of Captivate stuff between LinkedIn and Adobe. I do a lot of Captivate stuff, but
yeah.
Technically, I'm an e-learning developer that just happens to use Captivate as my primary tool. But I think there's definitely, just like you and Heather were talking on your last broadcast about just the need for many people to, with COVID, suddenly pivot to online.
Yeah.
And I think there's a ton of people in L&D, learning and development right now. I think there's a lot of new people because I helped a lady a month ago that they work in New Jersey with the big refrigerated shipping containers. The shipping containers that come like across the ocean, and so like they're like the authority on how to interact with those things safely, how to not electrocute yourself as you're maintaining these things, and how to fix it and all that stuff, And so they would conduct these classes, these certification classes out on the docks, and now they can't, So this lady was acting as her own subject matter expert and her own Captivate developer and her own, and building all that stuff, having to put all this stuff online. So I think there's a lot of people that are being asked to do roles that they didn't do before. And so I think right now there's a big surge in e-learning development. And I do think it'll drop off. I think as people get their training needs met. You still have that weird noise.
What's that?
Did you still have that weird noise? No, I didn't see it, but I saw your reaction to it.
No, it was my cat.
Oh.
So my cat's like, meow.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, cat.
Hey. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because like I used to work, at the University of Denver in an office where we built like a bunch of like, like teaching and learning tools, and there were instructional designers and people like that in the office that would, help with our tools, but also help with things like, just getting your course ready and, using Canvas and all this other stuff. And I just kind of wonder, like, if I was still in that office instead of in the position I'm in right now, like, I can't imagine. It probably blew up so much, just like the need for people to need to like figure this stuff out like so quickly. I mean, I saw it from a faculty perspective up at CU Boulder, and like, a bunch of people, they've never done an online class, they've never done a remote class, they had never used Zoom before, they barely used Canvas. I mean, you know, most instructors when I was at DU, they, you know, they would be asked to, oh, please at least upload your syllabus into Canvas. And, you know, most of them didn't. They didn't do it.
No.
You know, so
Yep.
I can't imagine, like, just all of a sudden in like the span of a week or two, like every faculty member who's never done that stuff before, like all across the country, basically, just having to like figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
You know?
And it's my auntie is my auntie teaches at Monterey Peninsula Community College, and she's an English teacher. And all of this was, you know, she hates online. She hates it because she really wants that interaction, you know, that spontaneity in the classroom. Different. And it has been like pulling teeth for her to get, not even be, the technical challenge is one thing, but just the difference in the interaction, you know.
Yeah.
And discussion boards, I'm so frustrated with the discussion boards, and I'm so, you know, it's been really. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that suddenly have to do all this stuff that they've never done before. And I do think it'll fall off as they get their training needs met, and then as things slowly return to normal.
Yeah.
But, it's like COVID has been like golden age for instructional designers and dogs, I think, you know, because like you can't adopt a dog to save your life because everybody's home, right? So everybody's getting new pets.
Well,
I got a new dog during COVID. So.
I know there's certain like, you know, pieces of tech that, or not even just tech, just like general hardware that you can't get. Like desks are hard to come by because so many people are homeschooling. Webcams,
office chairs, webcams. Very difficult.
Printers,
selfie rings. Yeah, mice, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah,
extension cords for, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, never mind Lysol.
Right?
Paper towels and stuff.
Yeah. Trying to buy wipes. You get this little can of wipes. So.
Although, I mean, thankfully, like, you know, all the stores I go to now, it looks like they're just completely stocked up on everything. Maybe, well, that's not true. They don't have, like, cleaning alcohol. Like, if you look for cleaning alcohol, you won't find it anywhere.
Nope. And like all the sanitizing stuff is all these off brands that you've never seen before.
Yeah. But at least they have paper towels and stuff now.
Yeah.
Because I remember when, you know, the first couple months that I went out, you know, I was going out to get groceries like once a week, you know, and that's like the one time I'd leave the house.
Right.
Right. And I'd go get the groceries and then I'd bring them home. And then like, at first, I would come home and I would like, you know, put all my clothes in the laundry, jump into the shower right away, like all this stuff, you know. Of course, I don't do that anymore. It's like, all right, we got sanitizer for the hands. There we go.
Right.
It's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't know at the time like exactly what was like too much caution. So you're super cautious. But I remember like going to the grocery store, and for one thing, like the roads were completely dead. I'd see like one or two other cars. Yeah. And then I'd get to the store and yeah, there'd be like, I remember the frozen aisle of my Whole Foods just being like wiped out, completely wiped out. Like produce, some stuff would be there. There'd be like a bin full of stuff right aside from like a bin of other stuff completely empty. And good luck with anything canned.
Right?
And
flour?
Like pasta. Yeah, flour, pasta. Like anything that like lasts a while. It's just like, it's like, hey, everybody, like nobody said there was going to be like any problem with the food supply. You know?
I know.
Like, why is everybody doing this? It was so odd. I'm glad we're over that part of it.
Me too.
Because
I was kind of worried people were going to go to the gas station and like have a run on gas.
Yeah.
You know? Like, just like, oh my
gosh. That's been great though. I've used hardly any gas.
Yeah.
And I've filled up my gas, I think twice now.
That's it?
Yep.
Wow.
And the last time was about a week ago. And gas was like $2.20 or something like that.
Yeah.
Not bad.
What it's at.
Remember a few years ago, gas was like $5?
Very well.
That wasn't good. Yeah.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
No.
I was going to tell you something else about Captivate. What was it? I don't know. I'm excited about video, I think. I mean, I think it's easy to overuse video, but I think that idea of breaking up video and being able to pause during a video and like ask some reinforcing questions or present more information, I think is really powerful because it's really easy to watch. You know, like even a 4-minute video, right? You're sitting there and you're like checking the clock, like
yeah,
micro learning, right? We need micro learning. And so I like that idea of making things as interactive as possible. And I really think I would like to see more of that.
I have a hard time like sitting through videos.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like I tend to like skip around a lot. Like if it's a LinkedIn Learning thing, I skip around a lot. And then I always feel bad too, because like, you know, sometimes you record something and then you look at how long it took and it's like, oh man, that's like almost 8 minutes long raw. And it's like, you know, they're going to edit it down, but it's like, and then you're thinking, you're like, well, you know,
it's tough because there's some things that like you don't want to break right in the middle. Yeah. It's just like, okay, here's what the variable means and here's what you know, like you don't want to break right there because you're just going to lose the flow.
Yeah. And every once in a while there's one that you can break. So I've gone in and I've been like, all right, well, this was going to be one video. Now it's 2 videos. I adjust my TOC and get that stuff in there and
do the same thing.
Yeah. But that's probably like, it happens maybe like once a course, if it even happens. Usually it's
I get it at least once a course.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, oh my gosh, that's the hardest thing for me is to keep the size down, keep the length down. That's a real challenge.
The worst thing for me is if I find like some kind of bug. Is you're going through and you got your stuff mapped out, but maybe you like mapped it out like weeks and weeks ago. Maybe it was on like a different like pre-release version of the software that functioned like a little bit differently or something. Yeah. And then you're like going through it and you think you got everything taken care of. And then you hit something, you're like, what the hell's that? You know?
Yeah, I know. That's burned both of us.
Yeah.
A few times. Yeah, I remember that for sure. But
yeah, Teresa says it happens to her on every course. That just popped in. Yeah, so she's probably referring not to the bugs, but to the length issue of the videos. They don't seem to come down as much anymore on the length stuff. Like I remember like sometimes I'd turn in something that was like 8 or 9 minutes and my producer would get back to me and be like, hey, this video is like almost 9 minutes long. And it's like, oh,
I don't know. It depends on the course. I mean, one of the courses I did for LinkedIn recently was Captivate quick tips. And it was very clear, like your video has to be a minute or less. That's it.
Wow.
It was a very different style and the editing style was different as well. Like the idea being that you could follow along even if you don't have the sound on. So it would have these things popping up. You say like, oh, okay, you know, here's what you're trying to do. And then another thing would pop up. Okay, here's, you click here and you do that. Very different editing style. That's very different than something like an advanced actions course. You know, like you need 8 minutes, you need 9 minutes to explain.
Yeah, certain things definitely. Definitely. And yeah, I mean, the user always does have the capability of just jumping around a little bit too. So
yeah,
you know.
but it's, I find my attention span is shorter, just 4 minutes max.
Yeah.
And then I'm ready to move on to something else. So that's a big trend in e-learning as well now too, is micro learning.
Yeah, it's like so I got this other project that I've been doing the past, gosh, like it's either 4 or 5 years now. So it's the Animate Classroom in a Book. There's like a web version of that, right? And it has videos. attributed to it. It's like an interactive thing, and there's videos embedded that go through the steps. So I've been the person to record, all the little tiny videos that get inserted into those.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of those are like 20 seconds, and those are great because it's just like, yeah, boop, 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 done, It's not like, and I don't have to like explain anything. All I got to do is like read Russell's stuff and go through it and just like,
and just go click, click,
like,
click.
there we go. There's that done. So you can see that. There's like 300 of them, but they're short.
Yes. Do 10 in a day and feel like you've achieved something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's days. There's usually a tight turnaround on those things. So sometimes I do a lot in a day. So I'm hoping it's not like that this year. But we'll see.
We'll see.
They're fun though.
Yeah.
That's all fun stuff.
It is fun stuff.
It's nice we all get to do fun things.
Gotta have fun.
Yeah.
Gotta make it stick. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah.
Some of it sticks and some of it doesn't. You have to just keep throwing spaghetti.
Gonna make a mess.
That as well.
Yeah. Well, all right. So I've got a faculty meeting coming up here that I have to get to.
It is time.
So I think it's probably about time to wrap it up.
All right.
Do you have any sort of closing thoughts around this stuff, or do you want to like point people to resources, maybe like your LinkedIn stuff or anything like that they can go to learn more about Captivate?
Sure, that's a good place to go. LinkedIn Learning is a good place to go for Captivate Training and for Animate Training. Yep. If you're looking for e-learning stuff and more Captivate training, there's elearning.adobe.com, which is a good place. And they're doing a lot of fun stuff there. That's where the forums are. There's a really vibrant community around Captivate in the forums, very active. And they do little contests, and there's a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Conferences.
So elearning.adobe.com.
Yeah, that's a great place to go for
I've never seen this before.
Oh my gosh, and it's recently overhauled, different look and feel and stuff, but they've really thought through it. It's a really very vibrant community.
Oh, cool.
If you have a question, ask it there, and probably somebody's already asked it. I mean, that's how most of the Adobe forums are, right? Usually you can find it.
And if you're looking for, of course, the LinkedIn Learning stuff, you just go to LinkedIn Learning and you search for Captivate, or you search for Anastasia McCune. And
that would do it.
You find it.
You'll get, There's some other stuff there, like some visual design stuff there, like visual design in your e-learning, but the majority of the stuff is Captivate. Yeah.
It's probably similar to my stuff, how like, I got like some like HTML, JavaScript type stuff here and there, some Angular stuff.
Angular stuff. You had Edge there for a long time. You had a ton of Edge stuff.
Was there?
Didn't you have Edge? I thought you did.
Maybe. I had a lot of Edge stuff with gosh, what was it called? They got captured by lynda.com.
Video to Brain?
Yes. Video to Brain, I had a bunch of Edge animate type stuff. And I had a Edge reflow thing inside of LinkedIn Learning at one point, but it got retired, of course, because what's Edge reflow, right?
It happens. It happens.
Yeah. So. The funny thing is, though, I've got like this introduction to ActionScript course on LinkedIn Learning, and it still does okay. And it's like the oldest thing I have on there, and it's like every month I'm just like, okay.
Well, I mean, would you believe Flash Essential Training? I have video discs of this in my basement. It still does okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the? And everything else has been retired. You know, like the, I had banner ad stuff. Now you have banner ad stuff up there now, you know, using as it should be. Because banner ads are different now, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but all that stuff has been retired. There's a little
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as people still like find value in it and watch the stuff, it sticks around, you know?
Yeah.
So
it's just, it's interesting what gets retired and what doesn't.
Yeah.
But, you have a faculty meeting.
Yep. And it's going to be long and more Zoom, you know?
More Zoom.
So,
oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm going from Zoom to Zoom.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so we should wrap up. Okay. Yeah. I've got like 20 minutes. All right, cool. So thank you for coming on and chatting about Captivate. I learned things I didn't know about Captivate for sure. And I hope anybody who joined us live found it interesting, and anybody who's watching the replay, thanks for coming and watching this little discussion.
Yeah.
And
thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Well, I am going to close it out then. So see everyone later. Thank you again.
Thanks.
And we'll do something else next week. So I don't know what yet.